In the tunnels of life, we hold our breath, we close our eyes.
What's up?
Dude, it's so good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. I like the colors you got going there. I don't think our fan base can see it because we're in black and white, but on my end, you look very colorful.
Yes, it is. I call this my Tresmegulan spaceship. Whatever that means is what it is.
Wait, Tresmegula?
Tresmangulan.
Tresmangula. All right. Yeah.
Welcome to Tresmangula, my brother.
I'm buying what you're selling. I don't know what it means, but I'm on board.
Neither do I. That's the beauty of it, right?
So, you got pants on or no pants this time? Because earlier
I put some pants on. I figured if I was going to be like, trying to be professional, I put pants on.
That's kind of fun though. It's like a little secret. Nobody else knows. It's right under the frame.
Well, you've heard those stories, right? About like the, people being on these business meetings or whatnot, and they got like they got their shirt on and their tie on, and then they get up and they walk away from their computer and they're wearing like boxers. Or like the guy that has the computer screen on and thinks that he stopped the video in the company meeting and is tugging one off in the Zoom. You know what I mean? Like, whoa!
I've seen a few of those. I guess that was bound to happen, right? With everybody doing these Zoom meetings. And I haven't seen that many Zoom ones, but I saw this one on the internet of, it was like a political, like local government kind of a meeting. Yeah. Have you seen that one? The guy's got one of those wireless mics on and he goes, basically to take a shit and he just doesn't turn it off and it's just blaring through the speakers and everybody's trying not to laugh, and then he comes back in and everybody's acting like they didn't hear what just went down. But they all know, everyone knows except that guy.
That's priceless, dude. That's a
good one.
Yep. It's the Zoom world we're living in right now. It's kind of a trip, dude. It
really
is.
Imagine just like, God, even just like 20 years ago or 30 years ago, I think we all would have felt like everything is spying on us all the time, and now we're just so comfortable with it. Like I got this free, what are those little things called? The Nest, or not the Nest. It's like some Google something that's like Alexa, right? And
got it.
Yeah, so I got a free one for my subscription to YouTube, and I was like, well, hell yeah, send me that. So they sent me one. I still haven't plugged that thing in, even though, of course, my phone is listening to me all the time, so it's not really that logical of me, but I'm still just like, man, I don't want to bug my house even more.
Yeah, I feel you, dude. It's like I have the Alexa, and it's funny because my dude Chad from management just hit me up. He's like, hey, dude, can you do one of these, like, hey, Alexa, play the ending by Papa Roach like videos? And I was like, yeah, no problem. And then I'm like, Alexa, where are you? I was like, I had to go downstairs. I'm like, Brixton, where did you put Alexa? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, bitch is gone. But we're like, I'll unplug that thing, dude. I'm like, Brixton will turn it in, and because he'll just listen. My little guy will listen to music on it. And that's kind of his way. He'll, listen to tunes and stuff.
Right.
Get that shit out of my bedroom, dude.
Yeah.
Hearing me in my bedroom.
Yeah. I always make sure when I make really dark jokes, about, overthrowing the government or murder or, those kind of things. I always like cap them with, and this is a joke, by the way, to my phone. Yeah. I'm like, somehow in future court, someone's going to dig this shit up and I'm going to be on trial and they'll be like, in 2020, this young man was talking about murdering people and overthrowing the government. And I think about that stuff. I'm not a full-blown paranoid kind of conspiracy guy. That was more a bass player, Daniel. He was kind of like the, full-blown conspiracy kind of guy, and then the other parts of the band are like the other direction. And I've come a little bit over to Daniel's side over the years. I've dipped my toes in the water of the conspiracy world. Most of that world is kind of just like entertainment. I think people like to imagine crazy scenarios and make reality a little more interesting than it is. But some of them are real, and some things are, and that's what's crazy. So it's kind of like it's a fun little world to check into.
We're definitely in a space right now where, and I've kind of seen this coming for quite some years, about like the war of information. And it feels like we're in the thick of that right now. And I've really struggled over the last year on what to believe. What is reality and what is false? What is manipulation and all that and the above? And I just have to like remind myself to check my gut, you know, and to check like, all right, in the real world, what's it feel like? You know, and for me, I really haven't engaged in political debate online at all, because really I just don't.
Wow.
I don't feel like it's a space for me to have, I guess, a productive conversation with anybody at this point in time, because I just see some people going out there and just going so real hard on the political stuff, and I'll read the threads and it's just and I'm like, okay, that's that. And I choose to engage with people on a one-on-one space. You know what I mean? It's like face to face. I feel is like it's the most. It's important. I really think it is, because when we use these message boards to voice our opinions, there's so many trolls out there, and so many people that just want to like start shit, and but then also so many opinions. And it's like, how do you have an intelligent conversation in the midst of that type of environment? And so I've really like made an effort this year to just stay out of the political debate and try to discern what I feel is legit and what's bullshit, you know? And it's been, honestly, it's been tough, because I'm just like, my problem is, John, it's like, I'm such an empathetic person that I have the ability to see things from both sides, you know, and I have this desire to see things from both sides and understand why somebody would feel this way, or why somebody would feel the opposite, you know, because I think that there within that space is where we find the truth, you know, or common ground, you know. That's why I'm just glad I'm in a rock and roll band, you know.
Yeah.
I try to keep it simple, dude. I'm like, I just want to bring people together with music, man.
You found your calling like very soon. You're definitely in the right job. I mean, if anybody listening has seen this guy perform, you know you were born for this. I'd say way more than myself even. I feel like I found my calling in music in general, but as like a frontman performer, like that's your lane, man. Like you kill it. You're just like so much energy, whereas a lot of times I'll kind of be like half nerd behind the computer guy, and then half of me is the performance guy, and just depends on what day which one's going to come out, you know.
Well, dude, I'll say this though, Johnny, I'll tell you this straight up, like, you know, we've done a bunch of touring together, and you guys are one of those acts that there's not a lot of acts that roll around that really like speak to me, that grab me. And from the first time I saw you guys back in the day, I was just like, these motherfuckers are a force to be reckoned with. Like, there's something really special going on. And it's the depth to your music. It's the introspection within your music. It's the intensity and the visceral, raw, just savageness. And in your live performance, bro, like, you might want to think that you like are kind of like the nerdy guy behind the computer, but there's something that comes out of you that's powerful, dude. And when I witnessed that on stage, I'm like, all right, we got to follow these motherfuckers. Like, damn, dude, you know what I mean? And it's like, I think that's what's important about rock and roll, is that people have this authenticity about them. And that's what I get from you guys. And you as a frontman, you approach it differently than I do, but it's authentic. Yeah. It's believable. It's real. You know what I mean? It's like, you guys are not a carbon copy of anything out there that I see exist in rock and roll. And I think that's fucking special, dude. I was actually talking to a friend earlier today about authenticity is like, that's like the most important thing in music. It really is.
Yeah.
It's like, instead of being this carbon copy of something else, it's like, you gotta be authentic, man. And I feel that coming off you guys in the realest way. And I'll tell you this though.
Well, likewise, man. Thank you.
There's something that we have in common. I don't know if you know this. And I think I know. Did you start out as a drummer?
Yeah. Many years. Same? Really?
Yeah, that was my first rock instrument, dude.
I think you told me that you were a drummer at some point, like on the road. I think we had talked about that, but for some reason I don't remember. Like that was like your full blown start. Like, did you played in a band, drums for a while?
I didn't play. I jammed with people. I didn't play a proper band, but I jammed with people, and I played. That was like, this is how it started for me. Like, I was playing drums. I was jamming like Metallica and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and like, you know, my friend knew how to play Enter Sandman on guitar. You know,
yeah.
All right, let's go. You know, and I wasn't that great, but it's kind of what introduced me into rock music. It gave me a space to be, you know, loud and creative. And I met my drummer, Dave Buckner, and we put our drum sets together, and we had this big old drum set, and he turned out to be way better drummer than I was. So I turned it over.
Hey, well, it worked out pretty well, you know. It totally makes sense that you were a drummer first when I watch you perform, because there is like a barbaric kind of primal attitude to your body. And I noticed that is the similarity, I think, between us, is there we communicate a lot with our body. And I never feel comfortable like keeping my hands still. Maybe it's that drumming itch, you know, I want to hit something. I want to, you know, I've hurt in so many joints on the road because I'm basically like air punching constantly and like whipping my hand or my leg. And, you know, there's nothing that kind of catches it. So there's a lot of times at the end of a show, I'll be like, oh, what did I do? Like, how did that happen? Like air fighting. No one knew it was so difficult.
Can it be intense, my brother?
Yeah. But yeah, that kind of makes sense now watching you.
I love it, man. I still play too, man. I actually, since we've been in quarantine, I put together a drum set for myself. So now I have my oldest son, Jagger. He's got a drum set in the garage. My little guy, Brixton, he's got a drum set in the garage, and I got a drum set in the garage. So there's 3 kits set up in the garage right now, dude. And we just bash. It's fun.
Damn.
Yeah. Triple drummer summer, bro.
I'm jealous, man. I built this studio room, and it's been kind of like my dream come true to have my own little recording space that I feel really proud of, but I don't really have room for a drum kit. And I've been trying to find a spot, and it just, the way this house is built, there's just really nowhere to put it that makes sense. You know, maybe just one day I'll just slam it in the middle of the living room or something. But
hell yeah,
we'll
dude.
see.
Everyone off.
Actually, our merch designer, Clint English. I don't know if you guys have ever used him. If not, remind me after the podcast.
All right, yeah.
I want to get y'all hooked up. But he is an amazing artist. He's done merch designs for the Rolling Stones to Muse to
all right,
the Eagles, I think.
I'm gonna write his name down.
Just, I mean, you name it. He's done designs for him. But we met him years ago. I mean, he's our age. He lives in Louisiana here as well. And he's got a drum kit like a few houses down. So he said there's an open invite if I ever want to, come down there. But man, yeah, remind me about that later. But something you said earlier, you were talking about authenticity. And I feel like you were talking about like we're in this kind of information war lately. And I think the authenticity thing, especially with what we do, like I think our job requires so much authenticity. You know, if you think about so many people's jobs, which a job is pretty much something that is somebody's life most of every day. You know, most of our day is our job. And some jobs require more authenticity and some less. And ours is like that far end of the spectrum where if you're not authentic, it almost just doesn't work. most of the time, at least in the long run. It might in the short term. And of course, unless you're like a pop artist or something, that's kind of a completely different beast. But in our world, yeah, if it's not real, it doesn't connect and it doesn't stick. And it's so weird comparing that to politics because everything has gotten so political. And when I look at politicians and that kind of world, it's like the opposite end of the spectrum where authenticity isn't quite what works in that game. And while millions of people may feel authentic about their ideals or the policies that they want pushed through, they all feel authentic, but the people that have to do the job to get those things done, it's almost like near zero authenticity. And it's so weird to watch and also so hard to watch people get behind candidates when you see that they're just so slimy and you see these things that just don't match up, and that's on both sides, you know. And
Absolutely.
but at the same time, it's kind of a necessary evil because like somebody has to get elected in this system and somebody has to do something. But I found kind of the point I was getting at was in our career, it's frustrating for me when I find these crossroads where the real world and kind of our dream cross paths. And there are these moments where you almost have to lay down your sword, and there's these pragmatic decisions where it's like, do you do XYZ? Do you do this radio performance, or you do this compromise that you don't really feel 100% artistically behind, but from a business point of view, you kind of have to do it to knock the dominoes over to get from here to here. And that was like my biggest eye-opening experience from being an amateur musician to becoming a professional one, was how much behind the scenes, how many of these compromises occur. And it always, like, I think out of anyone in the band, I'm like the most resistant. Like, it just feels, I'm like, I didn't sign up to be a politician. I didn't sign up to lie to people. Like, if I feel like shit, a lot of times I'll go on stage and I'll try to be professional, but at the same time, I try my hardest not to lie to people, you know, and I just try to be real where I'm at. But there's that weird balance, man. I mean, do you ever feel that way where you put maybe the fans above yourself and you view it as like a form of self-sacrifice to just give them what they want? Or do you feel like you be real and you just, you know, be yourself, and in the long run it pays off? Or, you know, how do you navigate that?
Well, so great point, man. And, you know, as you were speaking, this quote comes to mind. And I remember learning this years ago. Somebody had told me, check out this quote from David Bowie. And the quote is, to become a better artist, I had to become a better businessman. And I was just like, it kind of hit me like, huh? Like, what do you mean? And for me, I grew up, you know, in this band, and business decisions were not my strong suit. You know, I'm like, let's split it equal. Let's just go out there, work our ass off. Let's be real. Let's get in people's faces, make noise, sell T-shirts. And it was just simple. You know, it was so simple for me.
Right.
And what I learned is within this business, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to get one over on you. And that's a reality. And there was moments in our career where we felt that the business was going to crush the band. And that was scary. And so that's kind of when I started to learn, like, okay, to become a better artist, I have to become a better businessman. So I got to understand this thing so it just doesn't implode, and understand how I can suffice this business, right? And go out there and do what I love, which is make music, which is connecting with people through music. And in doing that, it's given me a career, right? Well, then I've come to those crossroads at points where, you know, we're finishing up a record and we turn the album in, and, you know, the president of the company, Alan Kovac, could be like, you're not done with the record, right? And I'm like,
I know how that goes. Yeah, we went through that.
What do you mean? Ugh. And I'd get so angry and so pissed, and he'd he'd come to me and he'd be like, well, hey, there's these analytics. And I'm like, fucking analytics, fuck. He starts telling me about the algorithm, right? And I'm going, we are the algorithm. Like, we create it, and the algorithm is a study of what we do and blah, blah, And he's like, calm down, Kobe. Like, just hear me out. And I'm like, all right. And what I did was I heard him out, and I will tell you this story because I was kicking and screaming about it. He was like, you know what I feel like the record's missing? And I'm like, scoffing at him. And he was like, I feel like I listened to your record and there's nothing in a major key on it. And I was like, oh, he actually listened to the record. And I'm going, all right, he caught my ear with that, right? I'm like, oh, major key, there's not. He's all, you did a song like Lifeline back in the day that was a major key, and your fans love that side of your band, and there's none of that on this record. And I was like, all right. He's all, why don't you guys go back in the studio and try something, just kind of upbeat major key. And kicking and screaming and pissed about the situation, I was like, you know what? All right, we'll do it. So we went back in the studio, and I was kind of going through a pretty dark depression at this moment.
So the major key wasn't, what you naturally wanted to go towards.
Yeah, I'm like, fucking major key, dude. So we get in there and we start writing this music, and I'm having this conversation with my producer outside, and I'm just talking to him about my feelings and what's going on. And, artists, we tend to get in our feelings a lot. That's kind of what we do, right? And I started just telling him, I think I need some help, dude. I just honestly feel like this weight is just on me, and this pressure of making the record, and pressure to show up as a father, pressure to show up as a front man, pressure to make music that connects. It just feels like I'm drowning in this, And he just kind of looked at me. He's all, sounds like a chorus right there, dude. And I was like, all right. So we took it in the room, and we took this song, this idea, and put this dark lyric over this uplifting melody, which we had done before with Scars, and this juxtaposition, because I don't like to write bright, shiny music without a dark lyric on it. It's just kind of, it's how it works for me. It's how I can believe it. Mm-hmm. And we did that, and we made one of our most successful songs of the last 5 years with Help in it, Wow. So it's like, and so it's like, and within that, right, I'm kicking and screaming, and I'm pissed off, and I'm aggravated, but there's true artistry in it, and there's real emotion in it, and it's an authentic piece of music, right? And so that was at that crossroads again, where I'm like, I feel like I'm compromising, right? But then when I went in, my answer to the band was like, you know what? Every time we get into the studio, we always create something that just gets us off. So let's just go in and do it with these kind of guidelines to it. And it worked out in that situation. Now I can say, on the other hand, it doesn't always work out. It doesn't always work out for the better. Like, I remember when we, another story kind of tied to this, and sticking to your, being an artist of integrity and not selling out and this stuff. We wrote this song Scars back in the day for Getting Away with Murder. And we turned the original version into the record company, and Jimmy Iovine was like, the song's good, but I feel like you need to go back in and re-record the song and make it sound more like it's been a while. And we're sitting there, and I'm
Stained?
Stained, which it's a great song,
Right.
It's a good song for Stained. Right. And I'm just like, fuck, here we are, dude. We got to go do this. So we go in the studio, and we're working with Howard Benson, and I'm pissing and moaning. The whole band's pissing and moaning. He's like, guys, just give it a shot. We'll go in and we'll do it. So we go in and record this thing, and we turn it into the label, and we're just like, this is the worst piece of shit dribble rock, average white guy bullshit I've ever heard. Yeah. If you like this, I don't know what's wrong with you. And he heard the song and was like, oh God, that's terrible. I think we'll go with the original, So it's it's an exercise we go through as artists, and sometimes it works out for us, and sometimes it's not the right thing. But like you said, it's like when you're holding true to your core and being authentic to yourself, that's what shines. That's what really shines, I think, you know? And so it's a tough thing to fucking navigate. And yeah, dude, when I'm having a bad night, sometimes I'll go on stage and I'm like, fuck, but there's something about once we start playing those songs and we see the people and their excitement about it, I can't help but to just celebrate their excitement for it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And that's kind of what helps turn that ship around for me. Cause sometimes I'm just like, ugh, I'm just burnt the fuck out, you know?
Yeah.
And then that excitement from a fan in the front row singing back all the lyrics, it changes my day. You know, it's like a magic little drug, dude. It's a trip, man. It really is.
Yeah. No, that's
hit
cool.
that shit.
That's cool to hear that, man. Cause you know, a lot of people listening may know, and some of them may not, that we're on the same label.
Yeah.
And, we had a similar experience with Alan Kovac, and same thing. We were like kind of pissed off because we'd spent so much time on this album, and we're kind of like, here's your first single. We just knew in our gut it was Go to War. Right. Like from the first song we delivered, we're like, here you go. Here's the first single. We know
That's
it. You know,
amazing, by the way.
And oh well, thanks, man. But it was one of those that we just knew in our gut. And so when people want to get into a debate about it, you kind of just like, you know, you're almost like, you feel like you're just entertaining people to like feel like they're giving input, because whenever you like, we don't always know. For example, Alan and the label, they picked This Is the Time as our first single, and we were like, what? So they were totally right about that one. Yeah. It totally hit, went to number one. They were on the money with it, and we did not know that would be the single. Other times when we just, you know, that feeling when you just know in your gut, you're like, I just know, just trust me. We can debate about this, but just trust me. You know, we felt that way about Jenny and Go to War. And so we were frustrated at this point because the label basically was kind of pushing back on Go to War, and they weren't confident about it. And maybe they were, and it was some mind game to try to get more singles out of us. You know, I don't know, but we got the same thing where at the end of the album, we had worked really hard on. Alan was like, you know, we still need another single, and for a first single, and we're like, it's fucking Go to War, you know? Oh, and so we just were like, you know what, fuck this. All right. And so we went in and we just laid down Do You Really Want It? And that one was like in the barrel.
Oh man, which is a ripping track.
Well, thanks. Woo! Well, so that one ended up being a single. It didn't, we still were like, felt justified about our gut feeling about Go to War, because that one still ended up being the first one. But we walked away with an amazing song, and then he pushed one more time on us, and we were like, this motherfucker. And then we got Who We Are out of it. So we got that one didn't end up being a single, but it was like one of those songs that was just a great addition to the album. So we have mixed feelings about it. But we came out with good stuff. So sometimes you need that little, you know, squeeze the toothpaste just a little bit harder, see how much more you can get out the bottle. But
totally, man. I've learned a lot from working with 10th Street and 11-7 Records, Better Noise Music. You know what I mean? Like I've had a real good run with them. We actually are just right now, next month, releasing our Greatest Hits Volume 2, right? So we're standing at this point where we've had this last 10 years with Better Noise Music, 11-7 Records, and we've been able to, we have the ability to put out a second Greatest Hits, and I'm going, hey, thanks, Alan. You know, we had a great run. We actually just inked a brand new record deal. So we are on Warner ADA now. So we stepped out. We stepped off the Better Noise Music, and we're jumping into another territory for a one album deal, you know, and they gave us an offer we couldn't refuse. And it's really like, here we go. Like we're taking all these things that we've learned through the years, and we're going to apply them ourselves and kind of run the ship ourselves this time around. And so it's really like, kind of like flying on the, you know, on the edge of your seat, you know, like, oh shit,
Yeah.
this could go bad or this could be amazing. And I really like that feeling.
Yeah. No, I
Exciting.
mean, that's cool that you are at this point in your career where you have so many, you know, so much success under your belt and so much, you know, just kind of a roller coaster ride at times too, where y'all had ups and downs and regrowth.
Absolutely.
And it's cool that, you know, you still have that sense to inject risk into what you're doing, because a lot of people get to a point where there's too much to lose. Let's stick to the formula. Let's not change anything about what's going on behind the scenes or here and there. And you constantly need that little, a little bit of fear and excitement mixed together. You know, not too much to where you're making a mistake, but you know,
it's not irrational what we're doing. You know, we're looking at the pieces and the parts to the puzzle, and we're going, all right, I think we got what it takes to make this work for a go. So we're going to give it a go, you know. And
nice.
We've been in the studio writing a new record. We're like probably 3/4 of the way done with this album, and it's feeling so good. I got to send you a couple tracks, dude.
Yeah.
You get a little taste of what we're doing, man, because it is ripping, dude.
Hell yeah. Is it how far along is it?
So we're probably like 10 songs into it.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so when I say 10 songs, it's like there's, you know, 9 other pieces of music that are like were started, but then we're like, it's just not going to make the cut. So we'll kind of pull the plug on stuff before we completely finish a song, because it's like, are we going to invest the time into like taking this one all the way when not everybody is fully into it, you know, and believing in it.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's where we're at in that process, man. And it's really exciting to kind of like, you know, discover who we are again. It's really, that's what it is every time we make a record, you know. It feels like that. It's a new self-discovery. Are you guys writing and recording right now?
Well, that's exciting to hear, man. Yeah, we're about, I'd say about 60-70% of the way there on an album. And you know, we notoriously have always kind of done thick albums and have taken our time a little bit. That's just kind of, I guess, our path, if you will. But this one's a pretty thick one. It's a little darker and heavier than the last two. So I'm really excited about that. We kind of just leaned into it, you know. There's a lot of Tool influence on this album. It kind of goes down a little bit more of a rabbit hole. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, man, let's trade some demos.
Dude, that's exciting, man. You know, I just gotta say it first, of course, I'm a fan. So that's going to be exciting to hear what you guys are doing, man. That's so dope. And so, and you just, how's this whole COVID thing treating you, being home off the road, and what's that? Yeah. Tell me, bro.
Oh man. I think like most people, it has been kind of its own thing. I mean, it's been like a huge adjustment in some ways, as you know, like working on an album is kind of already like quarantine or COVID. You know, you're kind of stuck in a room all week. And so it has added a little bit to the craziness, because I'll work myself to like a crazy point where the wires are all misfiring and I'm just kind of like in this heightened anxious state because I've just been working my brain too hard, and then I'll just kind of be in like a weird zone for like 2 hours. And a lot of times I'd alleviate that by, you know, going out and like being social on the weekends and stuff. Yeah. And that's been way less, not by choice, just, you know, a lot of things have been not as active and things shut down, stuff like that. Fortunately, I'm, you know, in a pretty red state, Louisiana. So people aren't as hardcore about the lockdown here, which, and I say fortunately, everybody has their own, you know, opinions about this, not to be political. For me, I'm not personally, you know, I'm more concerned for the people that are at risk, you know, who need to stay quarantined, like my grandmother and people like who have pre-existing conditions. But for me, I'm not worried about me or my family. I got it pretty early on because I was just hanging, man. I was like, bring it on, COVID. Give me them antibodies. I just went for it, and I got it, and it was.
Were you out licking doorknobs, or what were you doing?
No, just drinking and hanging out, and so really just supporting my buddy's business, who owns a bar, and he was fighting this thing from day one, just like because his business was about to go under, and it's something he's worked for his whole life. So a bunch of us, in the area, we would just go and support him, even if we just hung out on the sidewalk. We would go and just buy a few beers and be like, hey, it's legal. This is public property, right? And so, we were just kind of helping him out. But other than that, it's definitely been weird, but I've, just so many adjustments, man, just so many adjustments, so many, I think everyone is feeling more angry than they've ever felt. Obviously, if you look at like all the riots, throughout the last year and things going on, it's just, everybody's ready to pop. I mean, it's like when you're in a relationship, it's kind of just like the same thing, but on a mass level where you get in a fight and it's not really about what you're fighting about. It's just that you wanted to fight about something and you just pop the bubble, So I've been there, man. I've been, I've been pretty like checked in, maybe overly checked in on what's going on politically. And that has put me in a very like negative headspace. There's just so much, like you were saying, it's a shitstorm of information. People you never know what's fully true, and you always have to look underneath the surface. But I'm okay with that. I guess what bothers me, like to my core, is when I see the population just like turn into drones. That is what makes me on edge more than anything. Because I don't mind if people have different opinions. We can argue and, have political differences, and that's totally fine. I have friends that are really liberal and really conservative. But when I see people on either side turn into drones, that shit bothers me and worries me,
Absolutely.
Because they can turn the hive against anyone, when they're pulling those strings and they're feeding people full of information and people don't check it and they don't apply their own mind. That's a weird thing, especially with a lot of the censorship going on. It's like, I really, we were talking about authenticity earlier, and there is something in my bones. I don't care if it's a private company or the government or anyone. As soon as people take actions to quiet other people, like to shut them down or to block them off, that hits like a violent bone in people. And I think that's not going to end well if we keep doing that to each other. I think we need to listen to each other, and we need to have good ideas. Better ideas beat bad ideas, not silence beating bad ideas, because that just makes people violent. I mean, it makes me feel violent. I'm just like, everything in me is like, fuck that, man. Like, I'm here to express my point of view, and everyone should express their point of view. Anyway, so my head's kind of been in that world a lot lately. Yeah,
no, I totally feel you, man. It's like, it's a hot point right now with the big tech censorship, and is that a thing that we should dip into? And, it's like, all right, well, for one side, they go, well, yeah, we need to censor these people because it doesn't go with our belief or our thoughts, right? And then it's like, well, what if, on the other hand, who's leading at the point, right? So if these folks over here don't like what these people are saying, then it starts to work against each other, right? It's like, if I'm making any sense, it's like, it depends on who's in power and controlling the censorship, and if that works for you, right? And and that's the thing. Even if the ideas that are wanting to be censored, or that people want to censor, aren't great ideas, it's a very slippery slope to be on when we start to do that, because you look at big tech and it's like, that's a public square in a sense. It's like people come together and they discuss ideas, and not always is it a healthy conversation, but it's like where does it stop, right? And I was listening to a podcast as I was running, and Joe Rogan had this lady Tulsi Gabbard on his podcast, and she has a lot of really good points about the state of affairs, and I was really kind of intrigued by what she was saying. And she actually just had a post today about censorship, and it's like it's a real fucking slippery slope to get on, because then where does it stop and where does it end? Right?
She's one of the few Democrats that to me seems incredibly reasonable. I'm surprised she didn't get the nomination, originally.
Yeah. I thought she was awesome, man. I was like, dude, she got it together, man.
Honestly, I think the far right and the far left are kind of like the tails wagging the dog on both parties, and have been for the last few years, because they're just getting more extreme left and more extreme right. But she's someone who like even Republicans like, because she's reasonable. Even if they don't agree on everything, she's still pretty cool and collected and well-spoken. And I heard, I think what you're talking about. And there was another podcast as well where another Joe Rogan one where he had
the older fella, older Jewish guy.
He was the ACLU, I think, lawyer, and he had the best points ever. He's like, you get into a game where you're giving power to a monster that might be on your side right now, but at some point the monster is going to turn around and it's going to bite you, and it's going to be in the hands of someone else, and you just, and when you play that game, this is another beef I have.
Ira Glasser was the guest.
Yes.
Ira Glasser. He had a lot of really good points, man. It was intriguing. It really like invoked just an inner dialogue within myself about censorship and how we approach it. And it's a scary thing right now. Definitely. Even if the voices, I don't like the voices, it's like they should be allowed to speak. Period. Right.
And they're playing a game too, where they're playing a word game where, because media, the nature of media and how it's limited to words and character counts and so much attention that such limited attention people have to read and dive into things, they can put labels on things and kind of tuck people into boxes and just put them away into a closet almost like of society, where you go, oh, that person's a racist or a Nazi or a conspiracy theorist or a far left crazy nutbag, or you or whatever. Or you say they're inciting violence. You could say something that almost everyone agrees is a bad thing, right? So if I can put a label on you that everyone agrees is bad, like the things I just mentioned, I can shut you down without you even having a chance to really defend yourself, because people will move on. There's too much information. And so they're doing that word game alongside of another word game, which is fact checking, which I think is a great idea in theory. Like if we could have a magical God being that's like the all-knowing robot who knows every fact, that would be amazing, because we really could call people on their bullshit. We could check things right then and there. And I think that's something we should strive for. But the way it's being implemented, to me, is clearly it's either biased, or it's like deciding that someone is the sole arbiter of truth, that someone has all the facts. And it's like, that's not reality. Reality is that we're this giant hive of people, and oftentimes the facts are buried underneath popular opinion. Like society is oftentimes wrong, and you need these renegade people, oftentimes artists or rogue scientists who everyone disagrees with, until a year or two later, everyone realizes they were right, but they needed to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that stuff's just getting real hairy and real weird, but I like that we're talking about it. I like that we're aware of it, you know?
I think people are definitely, I think people are willing to have a conversation. It's just, like I said, it's when I get into the online debates, it just gets so, I like your word hairy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like you need a machete to get through that shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, sometimes I just have to like, I had to like pause and go, all right, how am I going to get back down to earth right now? Because I'm spun the fuck out in my mind and I'm obsessing, right?
Yeah.
And I called a good friend of mine. I'm like, dude, how are you dealing with your feelings towards this? And he's like, bro, you ever do any breath work? I was like, no. I mean, I breathe every day, bro. I wake up and breathe. He's all, try this shit out. And he sent me this breathing playlist.
Huh.
And it's like this breathing exercise. I lay on my back in corpse pose, right? And I breathe into my stomach and I breathe into my chest and then I breathe out. And it's this circular, really deep breathing. And I learned this, and it's like, you know, when you do like a hard reset on your computer?
Yeah.
On your iPhone, it's like a hard reset for my existence. It's like I can be spun out and ready to put my head through a fucking wall, and then I'll go do this breathing exercise and a few minutes of meditation, and I'm like, oh, I can breathe again. Like I there is peace in this world. I just get so wound up in it, man. Do you ever get into anything like that? Any meditation or any type of stuff like that?
Yeah, that's cool you brought that up. And the hard reset, I think, is the best metaphor because someone introduced me to that a while back, and my issue is never it's not so much the knowledge of it, it's the application. Like actually doing it is my hurdle, right?
Yeah.
Taking the 5 minutes or the 10 minutes to just focus. For some reason, that's always the hurdle. But I used to do, I think this guy showed me one called Pranayama or something like that. It was one of my pretty far out hippy dippy friends from Cali, who was the guy who actually I smoked DMT with the first time. Perfect guy. Yeah. That was a whole nother story. He was studying to be like a shaman and had some DMT on him, and that was a interesting experience. But just a really cool guy, but he's like far out there, and I always like hearing what he's into. And he got real into the breathing stuff and went to these seminars and was teaching me this one. It was almost like a hyperventilation one. It was less of a calming breathing technique, and it was more of
activated breathing.
Yeah. It was like an energizing one, and I would use it before certain shows where I try to start supplementing with breathing technique and try to back off some of the caffeine intake, because I would run into these crashes after like a week or two of touring where I was just taking so many 5-hour energy to get me up for the show. And and then they stop working, and you just start kind of going downhill. And so he'd have me do this one, and it was all through the nose, out the mouth, but he would have me do this hyperventilation, however many repetitions, like 20 to 40, and then this long inhale and hold for a long period of time, kind of like the Wim Hof method. I don't know if you've heard.
That's kind of where that's when I first started dabbling with some of the breath work. I found this application. Somebody had pointed me towards it, and I tried it a couple times, Wim Hof, and it's that kind of like the in through the nose, out through the mouth, hold your breath. And I got up to like holding my breath for like 2.5 minutes doing this exercise. And then I kind of fell off of it. And I just got real kind of dark and twisted up in my head again. And I was like, all right, Cobe, like I need to like start feeding the good wolf again. Cause I was getting dark, and I have a tendency to kind of go on these emotional roller coasters, and the way that I'm treating myself or the food that I'm eating. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it's time to take care of yourself again, And so I was introduced to this new breathwork thing, and it's just like a quick little 7-minute one. And then I meditate for like 10 minutes afterwards. And it's like, I can, because I wake up, honestly, Johnny, like
Yeah, me too.
Fear of impending doom, right?
Yeah.
I got this fear of impending doom when I wake up.
Like all thoughts go immediately,
yes,
and it's just like,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
I'm the same
And
way.
I'm like, before I pick up my phone or I let the day get away from me, I'm like, I got to check in spiritually. I got to check in. So I got this routine where it's like I hit my knees. I have some prayer moment, with my higher power or whatnot. And then I got this book right here, this thing, and I will just go off. And just every morning I write 2 to 3 pages every morning of whatever's in here. Right. And I just, and I don't stop. And if I'm, like one day I wrote for half a page, fuck, and I just was like, all right, I'll go back and I'll read this stuff. And I'm just like, oh man, like December 18th, I had insane nightmares last night. I feel like I need to write a horror film. That was how I started it, and then after that, I'll do some breath work, and it's like a half-hour kind of routine to start my day. But I had to find this new kind of space to enter into the day, because it was like I would just wake up and just grab my phone and just start, reading the news and on Instagram, and I was doing that, dude, and it was I couldn't come out of this almost
Get
like
you stuck in a loop. Yeah,
dude. And I had to break some shit up, bro. And so I was like, I'm on some of that hippie shit now, man. I'm like,
dude,
I'm burning Palo Santo in here, and I'm like meditating. I'm
dude,
like,
it works though. It's not, again, it's like we've known it for thousands of years. It's sleep, it's water, it's food, and it's breathing. And like, those are like the most important things to master. It's like jujitsu. When I do it, it's like the fundamentals are the most important thing. I mean, you can spend years trying all these little fancy, tricky techniques, but the fundamentals, if you master them, you're just so solid, and all the other stuff is just icing on the cake. And I feel like in life, we're always searching for these complex answers. And I heard, of all people, this might be funny, but Dr. Phil, he said something pretty profound. He said, problems are often complex. Most problems are complicated and they have layers to them and multiple sources, but solutions are often simple. And it was right on the money. He's like, often the solution is just doing this one thing that basically has this weird domino effect to 5 different problems. And I found that personally almost like a child that needs to take a nap. It's like they're fussy about this or that or crying or whatever. They just need to go to sleep. And it's the simplest solution, but we become adults and we forget that we have to manage our mental health like we're a child that we're taking care of. I heard Jordan Peterson say something like that. He said people often take care of their children better than they take care of themselves. And he's like, if you were a child, what would you tell yourself to do? And when you
nice point.
It helped me a lot when I heard that. It kind of reframed it as from just kind of going with the flow and whatever I felt like to kind of managing my energy and managing my health and my mental space. I mean, I have to do that on the road a lot. I had to literally manage my energy because there was, I mean, as you know, every day it's like everyone's one night to like party and have the experience of a lifetime. And for you, it's like the 80th night or whatever. It's just, and you're just fatigued and you feel like you need to say yes to everyone and every opportunity. And because you're only there so often that you got to go shake the hands, kiss the babies.
Yep.
But I had to start putting up boundaries. And once I started doing that, I realized that it's really about picking the right moments and executing 100% and staying within those boundaries and just killing it and being satisfied with that and not trying to overexceed your limits, because you have limits. Unfortunately, I like to pretend like I don't all the time. You know.
Yeah. I'd like to think I'm Superman, but I'm just.
Yeah, man. That's I realized that was my number one threat. Like this last album, we were on the road. I felt like, and I felt like this since day one. I'm like, if I get destroyed in the music industry, it's not going to be because of outside forces. It's going to be because of myself or internal forces within the band. It's going to be, we're going to destroy ourselves more than something out of our control is. And so I have to face that, you know, and work on it. And that actually reminded me, I don't know why it did, but we had some people on our app, members of the Few, put up some questions, and I'm starting to get the urination bug. You know, I'm getting a little squirmy. I'm like, been drinking too much cane break. And
man, you guys, dude,
yeah,
hey, I just throw a catheter in before these things, man. It's no problem.
I really should. That's pro right there, man.
Right in front of you.
That's pro level. That's,
dude, just get a bucket and throw a towel in it so you can't hear the pee in the bucket, and you're good to go.
I'm not at your level yet, man.
Hey, man, well, you know,
you need to mentor me.
I'm actually wearing a diaper right now.
Oh man, solutions. See, this is solution-oriented vodcast right here.
Yeah, it's simple, dude. Just wear a diaper.
Complex problem, simple solution.
Simple solution.
All right, dude. So I'm gonna pull up some here that my manager sent and see if we can answer some of these. Let's see. From Morgan Bunkley, she said, when I have to create something, she said creative something, I think she meant create something, I listen to music tailored toward the activity to help the mind create solo, or go on a walk to sit in nature and write ideas. Where do you go that drives your creative process? Does it just hit you spontaneously, or do you have to separate yourself to think quietly, visit somewhere peaceful, or listen to a playlist? What do you do, Jacoby?
You know, for me, it's moments where sometimes it just hits me, and a lyric or an idea, and I'll just grab a voice note and just throw down real quick, and it'll just be spontaneous. And then there's moments where I go running. I like to run. Running is like a really good, healthy tool for me to kind of untangle this ball of yarn I got in my mind, spike the serotonin and dopamine, and just kind of get my head right. Mm-hmm. And I'll listen to music in that space, and that'll be another place where just thoughts and ideas and melodies will come to me. And so I'm constantly out on the trail, you know, humming things. I'm sure people pass me by going, what's that dude doing, you know? And I'll just voice note stuff right out there on the trail. And then other times, like when we were writing, we went out to we rented a house together, and the band lived together for 3 weeks, and kind of shut ourselves away and just create like that. And so there's not necessarily kind of one specific path to the creative process for me, but it always, as long as it gets through all these filters or these places that they come from, and it ends up in an authentic state, you know, and it feels real, not contrived, then it gets put to the record, you know. And so it's a lot of different ways. I'm sure you kind of.
Yeah, I'd say same. The only thing I would add is the most creative place for me is driving. When I drive into New Orleans from Baton Rouge, it's like an hour drive one way and then an hour drive the other. And it's like the perfect amount of time to kind of be trapped, but also my mind is active and there's no distractions because I can't be, you know, and the road's kind of hypnotic. So it puts my brain into some state, and I always get a ton of ideas when I'm driving.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a good one. And I'll probably do like 2 more because, like I said, I got to piss pretty bad. So professional. Professional here.
Good, next time, just wear a diaper, bro.
You know, I wish I would have good ideas like you, Jacoby, ahead of time. This is I don't know how to pronounce this. Who I am. If I separate it, I was like, Wham 04 says, what do you do when you're struggling with your confidence? That's a good question.
For me, it's just a resetting and recalibration of who I am and what I'm doing. And sometimes it's just hitting the brakes and pausing. And I think that that's really, for me, been a really healthy exercise in my life. And knowing when to say enough is enough. I can take myself back to the beginning of December, and we had started working in August, and I was just neck deep in this record, and they wanted me to go down and go to LA and write and create. And I just was like, I just am not there, man. I'm like, I don't have it in me right now. I feel like every melody and every idea is trash. I feel like I got things at home that I need to deal with, and all those kind of things just were compiling up on me. And I just had to call up everybody on my team and go, I need a break. I need to stop because I am losing my shit. And I don't have the Jacoby that you guys want to show up is fucking not going to be there. I need to kind of rethink things. And it was important for me to be able to be bold enough to just go, I need a moment. And everybody, my circle, everybody understood. And I took that time, and, like I said, I was doing this breathing and this writing and really kind of working on myself. And go figure, a month goes by and I'm like, oh, I'm back. I can do this, And so really just knowing when to just hit the brakes and pause.
Yeah. Yeah.
That really helps me.
Yeah. That's, I would basically echo what you're saying in like kind of a different space. So like what you're talking about is hit the brakes and pause in a very literal physical sense, with time and space and location. And I think in the same way, like if you're in a situation where you can't exit the situation, you're just there, pressing pause in your mind, hitting the brakes. I heard one of our PR people, when we first started doing interviews, she told me an amazing piece of advice. She said, don't feel, she said, feel comfortable with spaces, with silence in a conversation. Yeah. She's like, just sit in it and let your mind come to the answer and then speak. And something about just focusing on that the space and the silence before I spoke was okay.
Yeah.
It gave me some kind of permission to relax my mind.
Right.
Because we have that tendency to just we put the pressure on ourselves, and we think everyone else is putting the pressure on us, but really we're kind of doing it to ourselves proactively, so that people don't put the pressure on us. And it's okay to have that space and that pause, and to just kind of go at your pace, whatever situation you're in.
Back in that, dude. You just dropped the knowledge on me right there.
Yeah, it's a good one, man. That one really helped me. All right, I'm gonna do, I think, one more here. Let me make sure I pick a good one. I got two I'm looking at.
You better pick a winner there, Johnny. Man, I gotta tell you though, it's been rad hanging, man. It really has, dude. Let's do this shit again sometime.
Absolutely, man. I've always loved hanging with you and talking with you, and I'm sure people are enjoying the hell out of this. All right, so I'd say I'm gonna pick this one as the last one and wrap it up. And we'll do it again. And everyone watching, if you put some questions on here, sorry we got so kind of lost in our conversation. We'll get to some of these questions again next time.
Good. That's good.
So this one's from Laney's. Wait, hold on. Laney Shill or Laney's Hill?
Laney Shill. Oh, Laney Shill.
Or Laney Shill. Jonny and Jacoby, are there any songs that are emotionally difficult for you to perform live? On the same token, are there any that were emotionally difficult to just write?
Oh, man. There was a song we wrote on our second album called Decompression Period. And the song really was about this wild ass ride we took on our first record where it was just like a rocket ship to the top. And we just went until the band was about to implode. And this song was about how broken we were as individuals and as a collective. And I remember going out, and this was really kind of at the height of my drinking too, and performing this song and just like breaking down on stage. And that's not really normal for me, you know? And it is when I'm on my own, not normal, but it's, you know, I don't have a tendency to do that on stage. And I was one night, I was just weeping. I was like, I got to go collect myself, man. This is like, I'm losing my shit. And so, yeah, I've been at that point, you know, and it really just was, it's just when you go until you break. And that's what we did, you know, and before we knew that it was okay to push the brakes.
Right. I think, yeah, I think a lot of bands find that edge, and everyone has to kind of almost get there in their own way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is unusual for you from my perspective. 'Cause yeah, you do seem like someone who the energy of the crowd and stuff, you just turn on like a light, you know,
fucking party started.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, we take our problems and throw them down on the ground and stomp them out and dance on them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I just want to cry.
Yeah. You're like that. You're that Leo, that lion energy.
You know it.
But yeah, I'd say for me, God Went North. That was clearly the most emotional one for me because it was about my mom and the battle with cancer. We only did that one live once acoustically, like years ago, before we ever had a record deal or anything like that. So, yeah, it's one of those that I like to. We've had some of our fans request it, but it's like one of those personal ones that I kind of just want to keep it special. I don't listen to it very often, and when I do, like I pretty much like it breaks me down every time because it just takes me back, and I don't want to get numb to it too much. You know, it's like when you play a song every night on the road. That's like one of those songs I kind of just want to keep special for my mom and not really make it a performance piece. And, you know, maybe one day we'll play it somewhere, but for now, I think that's what it's going to be. It's just kind of its own little memory, you know?
I think that's wise, man. I think that's, you know, you definitely put yourself out there, and we're very vulnerable with that song. And like you said, it almost feels like that could cheapen it in a sense, because then you just go out and you perform it, and it's like, I'm just singing it again.
Right.
And, you know, you went into like the depths of your broken emotion and that pain and struggle, man. And that's something that's, my heart goes out to you, bro, on that shit, man.
Yeah,
she's
man.
smiling down on you right now, though. She's looking at Jonny going, man, I did a good one right there.
Oh man, it's
real.
Man. Well, thanks for
Good
saying
egg,
that. Yeah,
good egg, man.
I wish you could have met her, man. She would have. Y'all would have got along so well. She was. Y'all's energies are so similar, man. I have a lot of my mom in me, but I have probably more of my dad now that I'm an adult. You know,
right.
He's more the level-headed kind of like, you know, thinker. And so I get a little more like that, but she was just like the party animal. Like, let's be fun. Let's play. I mean, she was joking on her deathbed, man. She was cracking jokes and like, even in the worst conditions, like,
you're like, really, Mom?
Dude, I'll never forget this moment. It was Christmas Eve night, and we thought she was passing away. It was a really dark night. We're like, really, on Christmas? We're like, oh my God. You know, everybody was just like devastated. So we all gathered around her. This was a month before she actually passed, but she was riddled with tumors and just like physically in a really horrible place. And we all sat there, and she had her eyes closed and her breathing started slowing, and we're all like crying and holding her hands and her feet. And then it gets silent, and we're just like, you know, almost like in a prayer with a family where you just like kind of open your eye, like, you know, what's happening. And she opens one of her eyes and she goes, I'm not very good at dying, I guess. She goes, how are you supposed to do this? She was just like,
God.
And the last thing she said, she's like, I'm ready to see the chocolate, what did she say? The chocolate water fountain in the sky. Cause she loved chocolate so much. She was always,
I'll eat it till I'm sick.
Yeah. Anyway, it was just funny, but yeah, your energy reminds me a lot of hers, just like keeping it positive and around people, just lighting up,
man. You know, cause I'll tell you this, Johnny, that's my way of reminding myself that things are going to be all right, is with a positive attitude, because sometimes it's not that I'm lying or faking it or cheating, you know, or like, because sometimes my happiness comes off and it's like, but really inside I'm hurting. Right. And, but I think for me, it's a good reminder of going, yo, there's joy in this world. Like, don't forget, Jacoby, like, don't forget to be joyful, you know? And so it's just kind of it's a thing I do, you know? And to be honest, man, I'm in a good place right now. And it's just because for a while I would just isolate and say, you would want to have me as a guest on this. I'd be like, I'm good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And me getting back out there and not isolating anymore. It's like, thank you for having me on this, man. Cause it's part of like this kind of healing process I'm going through again. Cause I got real isolated for a minute, got a little kooky.
Yeah. Oh, same.
You know, I'm coming out, dude. I'm coming back, baby.
Yeah. It's coming back.
Yep. That's right, dude.
And if it doesn't, we'll make it come back, man. Fuck this.
Right. We're coming for you.
Well, dude, you know, I got to wrap this up, man. And I'm so happy you did this. Thank you so much, dude. It's always, I always feel like a happier person just talking to you, honestly, man.
I appreciate you, man.
Good vibes.
Really keep on shining, Johnny. Keep on shining, baby. And give my best to the boys, all right?
I will, man. I'll let them know. And good luck on the album. I'll be looking for those demos. You'll be sending me.
Text me after this with your email.
Okay.
And I'll shoot you a couple.
Will do, brother. All right. We'll do this again. Thanks for everybody for checking in. We'll catch y'all later.
Much love.